If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option, as Sori says. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at insori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Debut the video. Buy our merch, indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear listener. We are in the midst of some really good stuff.
All right, you guys, up next is White Wedding by the band Billy Idol.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, actually, give me that time.
Why gotta be a white wedding?
Well,
1:41. Hour and 41.
41. All right. Director Nick, y'all, he has this to say to us. White Wedding is the second single from Billy Idol's self-titled debut album released in 1982. Billy Idol started off his music career as a singer for punk rock band Gen X in the late 70s before embarking on a very successful solo career. The song White Wedding became hugely popular at weddings, even though the song lyrically is anti-marriage to an extent. Really? In his autobiography, Dancing with Myself, what? Billy Idol says the following about the song. I stared at the blank piece of scrap paper in front of me, taking the pen sitting alongside it in hand. I wrote White Wedding at the top. What made me think of that? Well, my sister had recently gone to the altar pregnant. And while that fact was perfectly all right with everyone, seeing how she loved the guy, I started thinking how in the more recent past, this would have been called a shotgun wedding. I started to imagine an alternative reality, one in which I was pissed off at the violation of my sister, and I arrive at the wedding hell-bent on revenge. Oh, finally, for context, a shotgun wedding is an enforced or hurried wedding, especially because the bride is pregnant. Okay, interesting. Let's check it out.
All right, here we go. White Wedding. What's the name of this? Billy Idol. Let's check it out.
Idol.
Billy Idol, White Wedding. Now, I'm glad it wasn't Black Wedding. There we go. That's not the right one.
Huh? Oh.
I put the Slade one in instead of Billy Idol.
You
White
were wrong.
Wedding. Let's go.
What have you done? Hey little sister, who's the only one? Hey little sister, who's your Superman? Hey little sister, who's the one you want? Hey little sister, shotgun. It's a nice day to start again. It's a nice day for a white wedding. It's a nice day to start again. Hey little sister, who is it you're with? Hey little sister, what's your vice and wish? Hey little sister, shotgun, oh yeah. Hey little sister, who's your Superman? Hey little sister, shotgun. It's a nice day to start again. It's a nice day for a white wedding. It's a nice day to start again. Ow! Pick it up. Take me back home, man.
Voice is a little grimy right now.
Hey little sister, what have you done? Hey little sister, who's the only one? I've been away for so long. I've been away for so long. I let you go for so long. It's a nice day to start again. Come on, it's a nice day for a white wedding. It's a nice day to start again. Wow! Wow! There is nothing fair in this world. There is nothing safe in this world. And there's nothing sure in this world. And there's nothing pure in this world. Look for something left in this world. Start again. Come on, it's a nice day for a white wedding. Whoa, what's that? Nice day to start again. It's a nice day to start again. It's a nice day to
Start again.
Okay, I've never heard this song before, but I have heard somebody sing it. It didn't sound anything like this.
Oh.
Aunt Doris. It was my sister's wedding, and she was getting ready at the house, and we were going to be headed to the church, and my aunt started singing that chorus. It's a nice day for a white wedding. But the way she sung it was like completely different. I thought it had a like totally different sound to it. It's a nice day for a white wedding. And there was another one, the going to the chapel and we're going to get married. She was singing that song too.
Yeah.
And my aunt is like really like kind of extra and excited and fun.
But if she knew the context.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my gosh, when I heard what the context was. But I don't think that's. I think she was just.
It says shotgun multiple times.
Yeah, she didn't like hear. She didn't do any of that part. It was just, it's a nice day for a white wedding is all she was singing. As a matter of fact, I think my father was singing it too. It wasn't a shotgun wedding.
You were right the first time. You shouldn't let this girl do nothing. You shouldn't have let that broad do nothing, big homie.
Oh man. Okay.
I'll take her off your hands for you, Pop. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, little sister, what have you done? Hey, little sister, who's the only one? Who's your Superman? Who's the one I want? He says. That's interesting. Hey, little sister, shotgun. It's a nice day to start again. Come on, nice day for a white wedding. Nice day to start again. What does he mean by start again?
Well, because she was not a virgin, when she got married, and the white stands for her purity because she's never had sex with anybody. So obviously, when she's at the aisle pregnant, you know, so start again means like, well, now you can live a respectable life because you guys are married now. You see what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
It's really interesting. We were having a conversation about what we would do if the kids got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are real discussions now.
They're now old enough.
And I said we would just celebrate. You know, as Christians, we believe that sexuality and things like that are optimized in monogamous lifelong relationships. Obviously, it's a commandment by God, but there's a passage in Deuteronomy that says, "What am I requiring of you other than to give you these laws and statutes for your own good?" We do not have. It's interesting because I don't know if this song was sung in the 80s. It must have been in the 80s. Does anybody remember the 80s? Here's what the 80s were about. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna do what we want. We're going to have random commitment-less sex with anybody and everybody, blah, blah, blah. We're living the life. Excellent. And then by 1986, everybody's walking around with all these legions on their face and then dropping like flies. Didn't make it out of the 80s. You know why? Because they all contracted HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, which then metastasized into AIDS, acquired immunity deficiency syndrome. And then people died in droves, especially our friends in the LGBT community. And so on the one hand, this presents a very extreme form. I wouldn't say extreme form because I would say, to be fair, this presents the common American evangelical perspective on sex and sexuality. And to me, that's what he's railing against in the song. But it's not taking into account the other side of it, which is if you don't put a primacy on monogamous lifetime relationships, it has never worked as a positive for society. It always ends up in a delta. Always.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very interesting commentary considering, you know, the time period that these guys were in. Go ahead, you go.
I mean, obviously, the concept of it is, you know, I came from circles of people that when people got married, they would count back months when you had your first kid. Were they actually a shotgun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's a different world. It's weird when you see different cultures and different ideas and how things work. And not just cultures, but, well, yeah, religious cultures, you know, some people it's a big deal. Some people don't care. I heard once of this girl that she, you know, apparently back in the day you weren't allowed to wear white if it was a shotgun wedding type situation. You were supposed to wear cream if you weren't a virgin. Only virgins were allowed to wear white. Just so weird. Like, what? And what about the man? He's in the tuxedo either way. Just another thing to, like,
such a good point.
You know,
such
just put women in a position of, you know, shame on her wedding day. But, you know, anyway. So I've known women personally.
What did they say? I think it was Aaron Ross said it. There's no hate like Christian love.
Man.
And like I half agree with that, but go ahead.
So you know, I know women that wore cream on their wedding day because, you know, they weren't virgins. Some people wore cream on their wedding day because they had been sexually assaulted. And so then they thought, well, I can't wear white. Just insane. And then I know somebody that wore white on their wedding day, but they would have technically had to wear cream. But when the old school people were there, one of the old school people whispered, "I'm so proud of you for being able to wear white on your wedding day," but they technically weren't supposed to be wearing it. So just like, why, man? This is supposed to be a day of celebration. And, you know, ultimately, like, you know, this is really for like the young girls, or I guess anybody that's starting out a relationship or whatever. Like, it is to your benefit to hold your card of sexuality until someone is committed to you. I understand, like, people want, like, their freedom. They want to be able to do their thing. They want to test drive the car, all these things. But, like, ultimately, if you hold that card, you can see where things are actually at. I know so many people that were promised a ring, were promised a wedding day, and it never happened. They just stayed in a relationship, keep thinking, and it just never happened.
You know, a lot of it has to do with the fact that women do not understand the mentality of men. Most dudes will
fill us in, Vin.
I mean, most dudes will do and say anything to have sex with you, especially if they find you attractive. But that's not the same thing as I'm going to commit myself to you exclusively.
And secondly,
those aren't the same thing.
They're not going to say it because they actually want to have sex with you. But if you give that up that easy, then they're looking at you sideways like, well, actually, maybe you're a hoe. I don't know if I want to wife you. So, like, it's to your benefit to not do that. But, you know, for whatever reason, people, you know, they don't see it that way. I don't know. I do think a little bit culture is changing, a little bit on that. I mean, I was just watching, like, shorts, and this girl was like, let's normalize commitmentless sex. And then the guy comes in, he's like, no, let's not. And it's just like, why? Interesting switch up here.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is, see, here's the thing. Like, our society falls off on two extremes. I think the evangelical culture that we grew up with was an extreme, the way they treated basically girls. Because really, when evangelicals talk about dudes with their porn problem, they write books called Every Man's Battle. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not that you're a horrible porn addict, you're battling it because you're so virtuous. But then all this pressure gets put on these women. So now the woman has to be this super submissive homemaker, blah, blah, blah. And then when the clock hits 9, 10 o'clock, now she's supposed to be this porn freak and blah, blah, blah. And that's going to be the pinnacle of wifedom. There's way too much pressure, I think, in evangelicalism on the woman versus the man type of situation.
100%. To be honest with you, I never even heard any sermons at all on porn.
Right.
But I did hear my fair share of purity sermons.
Correct. But I do think what Blandon said was interesting, which is to say giving the gift of your chastity to your husband is a special thing. And I agree.
And vice versa. Like,
I agree.
Like, you said to one of our kids, you know, whenever, you know, you decide you're going to start relationships, like, you got to understand that whatever you do with homegirl, everything that you do with that one, if you don't marry her, then you've taken that from her future husband. And you've also taken that from your future wife, because you can't give that first to your future wife. And, you know, I think that, like, people say the weirdest things, like, oh, well, what if you get with them and they're really bad at sex? I don't, like, when I was a teenager, I thought it was an odd thing to say. But I was like, yeah, but what do I know? You know what I mean? It's like, I've not been in that situation. Well, now I'm, you know, I'm older now, and I'm like, no, that's crazy. Like, if two people love each other, like, you're going to work things out. Like, if you are vibing in other areas, like, you're going to make a way. Like, you're going to figure it out. Yeah. It's just crazy. And I just think, you know, and then you also have the, you know, there was, you know, I can't speak for all men, but I heard one man say that that his past sexual situations would flash in his mind when he was with his wife. And it was, you know, do you want to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
that's what, you know, I talked about where it says, Deuteronomy says this is for your own good.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, when you take a sexual ethic outside of the Bible, I mean, why are millions of dudes paying billions a year in child support? Mm-hmm. Like, I understand, like, oh, you're being too uptight, blah, blah, blah. People have sex. It is what it is. But this is one of those things where you have to say, from a scientific perspective, you can say that humans are animals if you want, but you cannot limit us to just that.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says they believe. If we were all in a store and you heard a mom say to her 5-year-old, you're such an animal. You're like an ape. I can't take you anywhere in public. We would call that woman an abusive woman. But ontologically speaking, she would be right. Because if you say there's no real distinction between humans and animals because humans are animals, then why does that bother you? Like, we're going over image of God right now in the Bible Boogie. And it's like, where do we get the concept that people need to be respected no matter what they do? Where do we get the concept about sex and sexuality, that it's got to be completely voluntary with consent? Where do we get these ideas? Well, I got the idea from the same place that said, don't do that until you get married. Mm-hmm. And again, like, people can look at it as corny all they want, but we would have been okay with the AIDS epidemic if we would have practiced that idea.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I said, like, I quoted that passage in Deuteronomy, because God's laws are designed for our good. Mm-hmm. They're not designed to make our lives miserable. God's law actually gives us a blueprint to what love actually is, mm-hmm. and how to actually do love in the real world, instead of just what we're told, which is love is a feeling, blah, blah, blah. Which, again, love is a feeling, but it's not just that. And so when you look at songs like this, it's like, the dude married her, and that's great because he's willing to commit himself to her even after she got pregnant. That's great. Mm-hmm. But that's not the same thing as, was it? In my mind, I was fantastic at sex until I had sex. Yeah, I mean,
it's funny.
I agree. The sexual revolution is one of the worst things that has happened to Western culture, and if we don't fix it, it's probably going to be the end of Western culture.
Well, I think the other thing that we're not connecting to it is that, you know, of course, we're good with abortion, I guess, so we don't really connect it. But sex is about procreation. It's also about enjoyment and, you know, pleasure and stuff. But that is the end of that, is to populate the planet. And when you look at it like, okay, people are having kids outside of relationships, and then those kids are forced to be raised without a dual parent household. Like, that affects the kids. We've had kids come around, and when they see, like, a lot of them are being raised by their mothers. So when they see me around, it's whatever, you know. But then they see Vinny come around, and they'll ask the kid, "Is that your dad? That's your dad? You have a dad?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, damn, that like, it breaks my heart to see kids in relation in you know, where they don't have both of their parents. And, you know, when they have both of their parents, like, it's both parents, that's their blood kid. You want the best for your kid. You're going to help, you know, like, if you're in a loving relationship and you love your kids, like, it's such a great environment for the kids to be raised in. But a lot of kids are just getting, you know, they came as a result of, you know, some excursion with somebody. Now they hate that person, and so they're kind of like looking sideways a little bit at their kid. You look like your dad, or, you know what I mean? Like, these kinds of things get said to kids, and that absolutely affects our entire society as a whole. Like, if we have kids that are raised in a healthy environment, that they get the masculine and the feminine, and they get the love from both of those, then they're not in this sort of searching place where they're ready to just, they're love crazed to find something to fill that. And then they end up going out and making other rash and bad decisions based off of the needs that they have all through their childhood. So, ultimately, like, if you have marriage and you have, like, long-lasting relationships and kids being raised in, like, that's the best for our society. That's the best for our kids. That's the best for, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you got people now that are smarter than God, so they know parents are interchangeable. You can have two dads, you can have two moms, you can have whatever. It's okay. I remember when here's a controversial piece, when Chris, whatever his name is, from the Mr. Beast thing.
Yeah. Yeah. What a mess.
Decided he was going to transition while he still has kids in, or she, whatever, has kids in school still. And Mr. Beast, I mean, I was checking out some of his videos. He's got like 153 million views on his basic videos. Like 150, 200, 300, like millions hundreds of millions of views. I'm like, holy shit. And that means that this dude is a household name, and then you're going to go off and do that. And so now this kid gets to go to school and have to deal with all of that. And then he has to deal with the fact that his dad is gone. And I remember everybody was hailing dude as a hero, and I'm like, yeah, like, I'm not cool with that at all. Aside from the whole trans whatever thing, like, that's completely unfair to this child.
That kid just lost a dad.
And of course you had all these people, oh, you know, it's okay, they can get a cousin or whatever. These are a lot of the people talking came from 2-parent households. I came from a 1-parent household. And trust me, especially when you get to the teenage years, that person's father is going to be completely invaluable. So I was just like, yeah, I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Like, if you're a parent, you got to sacrifice everything for your children. I don't care. I don't care about none of this. I have to be true to myself nonsense, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. If you have kids, your life is ultimately about them first. It should be. And so, of course, now this guy he's in serious trouble because of his predilection for prepubescent boys. And I am not saying see, because I there are trans people in my life that I would have babysit my kids. So it's not that, but it's when the secularists take something like marriage, and with all their knowledge and all their expertise and all the rest of it. See, what happens with modern secularists is that they confuse intelligence with wisdom. So we have the most information, and the information that we interpret is the most accurate it's ever been in all of human history. But what does that give us on the ground level? We're very smart, but we're not wise. So we're gonna say, oh, that's just old school purity culture. We don't need that anymore. Let's just have sex with everybody. And great, you get the 80s and you get a bunch of dead people. And then you had the hookup culture in the 2009, 2011 era, where it was just, what is it, friends with benefits, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I would, these girls would come to my office, they'd be like, yo, blah, 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 so-and-so's interested in me. And I used to say, like, it's not a good play. No matter what he says, as soon as that deed is done, his boys are going to know about it. Not a good play. They didn't listen to me. They did it anyway. And then they were surprised to see,
sure enough,
that the dude that said he would keep his mouth shut, he loved her, blah, blah, blah. Now everybody in the world knows what you were on. And then, it's the internet. So you can put that together. So like that's a really interesting song. I'm going to give this one a 9.4.
9.4, you say?
Hey, Joe Biden in the house.
He's arrived. Yeah, I'd match you on that one.
Later, Lee. Have a good one. Would you say?
I'll match you. 9.4.
All right. The moral of the story is get married young. Then you won't have these issues, inshallah. We will see you beautiful people on the other side of the break. We will check you later. Vid out.
Sori out.
Gone.